and welcome back to my channel. I've had a few requests to talk about some Australian stories and things that have happened in Australia. And one of the requests came through was about an Australian cult called The Family. And I really didn't know much about it because it sort of started before I was born and it sort of ended officially by the time I was about 11 or 12. But to find out a little bit more, we've got to go back a little bit to 1921 when Evelyn Edward was born in Sale. She later became known as Annie Hamilton Byrne. Now, her and her husband ran this cult, and it was active from 1963 to 1987. She convinced people that she was the reincarnation of Jesus, and therefore she needed to be listened to. Annie and her husband would acquire children from unmarried mothers, which would later be revealed as an adoption scam. And all the children would be dressed identically. So this is, let me just pull up a picture here. So this is Annie in her younger days. This is Annie in her younger days. And then, and this is the children. So as you can see, all the girls are dressed the same, all the boys are dressed the same. They would have bleached blonde hair and would be dressed identical. The children were brought up to believe that they would take over the world when it collapsed. In 1987, at Lake Eildon, which was their compound, three of the children escaped and happened to find police. And they were rescued at that point in time. They were either adopted into other families or reunited with the family that they left behind. The stories that came out were horrifying. There were allegations of drugging, beatings, along with lots of yoga, lots of exercise, and they were vegetarians. By this time, the Hamilton Byrnes were in the US. And in 1993, they were arrested in the US and extradited back to Australia. The really strange thing is that they weren't actually charged for anything that happened with the children. Any of the violence, any of the abuse, they weren't charged for any of that. They were charged for minor offences and fined $5,000 for falsifying documents for 3 of the children. It is believed that some of the adult members of the cult are still operational. However, there has been no new members, and they're now elderly, and they're living in a compound that is believed to be worth between $5 and $10 million between them. Well, hey. They lived by the rule unseen, unheard, unknown, which is how they were able to stay under the radar for so long. She was like a chameleon, changing her appearance, with wigs and clothing and plastic surgery. She was known to court women with her mind and men with her body. There were stories of torture, and they are horrific. And I need to just put a warning in because they are horrific. Beatings for wetting the bed. One boy got the nickname Zebra Stripes as he was beaten every night and every day because he wet the bed, and the bruises became permanent, so he had permanent stripes on his body. One child suffered a brain injury. Girls were starved and body shamed. They were hit with canes and shoes and dunked into the water to the point of drowning. Bill passed away in 2001. However, Anne Hamilton Burns ended up in a nursing home. She suffered from dementia and she died at the age of 98 in June 2019. There was no grave. There was no funeral. She was just buried. The children have suffered. They're now adults. Some have taken their own life, unfortunately. Some have grown up to talk about their story. And there is a documentary called The Cult of the Family, which shared their stories. And I'm going to put a link in the description here for you to have a look. So this is a cult that no longer exists, but it did damage. The question has to remain, how did they manage to stay under the radar for so long? How did they manage to hide everything that they did? I have to think back to that time. People didn't want to think that women, particularly nice little women, nice looking women, could be in fact a horrible monster. So do you think justice has happened? Do you think there should be more done? Tell me what you think in the comments below.